Hi, GaryCruz.com here. If you're interested in watching a setup of the QNAP TVS-672XT, then watch this video. Today I'll be setting up this QNAP TVS-672XT. If you haven't seen the unboxing, check out the description below if you're interested in that type of thing. I'll be connecting it to this Netgear GS110 EMX 10G switch, which has two 10G ports. Right now I have this connected to my switch into the closet over there. And what I'll do is I'll connect my laptop to this and do a setup. Before I get everything connected, let's go over through an overview of what I'll be doing. I'll do a couple Blackmagic disk tests, one with the 10G Ethernet connected via this OWC Thunderbolt Ethernet adapter. Then I'll also test it with Thunderbolt directly, and then I'll do the same test with the M.2 cache. Next, I want to do a file copy test to compare the speeds of a 5.23 gigabyte file copy with the OWC 10G adapter to the TVS-672, and then also compare it to the Synology 1515 Plus, which only has a 1 gig connection. So I'll use that same adapter with that connection. Let's get everything connected. First, let's start off with the power to this switch. Okay, I'm just using my iPhone here to get this filmed from the back. All right, so I'll stick in this power to the switch, and it's lit up. So I've got connectivity. All right, let me get this connected over to the Thunderbolt port. And then plug in the shielded Ethernet cable that came with the QNAP. And I'll plug this into one of the 10G ports in the front, which is right over here. I'm not seeing any lights on the Thunderbolt port, so let me switch this to another available port to see if that helps. All right, I seem to have figured it out. I'm not sure what it was, but once I went over here and disconnected this, it automatically showed it connected. So thank goodness. I was kind of freaking out for a little bit, but I just went into the network settings and removed one of my Thunderbolt connections here, and this automatically showed up. And if we take a look, let's actually remove this. I'll turn this off and double check my connection. So I'm not connected via Wi-Fi. I'm connected directly to my new adapter. And it looks like the internet's slow today. And here's what it looks like when it's connected. You'll see that it's blinking, and that means that it's connected to 10G if it's green. All right, next up, let's get this connected to the front of the switch and then power it on. So I'll plug this into the 10G port. And then plug it into this other 10G port here up in the front of this Netgear. And now let's plug it in. Okay, looks like we've got some network activity. Big power button. Okay, it's powering on. Sounds like a jet engine. Let's see what it looks like up at the front. Okay, let's see if I can connect to it via the browser. Install QNAP.com. Let's actually plug this in to the HDMI port to see what it sees. Switch this out here. I'll plug this HDMI into this HDMI port. Switch it over. Okay, so now we have an installation guide. Smart installation guide. Okay, why is it that it doesn't see this IP address? 192.1. All right, I'm not sure what happened, but what I've done is I went to select, switched over to the host IP address, and put that IP address in the browser. And when I did that, I got this page. So let's go ahead and go through the setup. TVS-672XT. Okay, I'm not in Samoa. Fit. It's not. Fit. Go ahead and get the time automatically. Click on next. I'll keep it automatic for now because there's some additional settings I need to do on the router. Thunderbolt setting is a high-speed interface. You can now connect directly to your QNAP NAS via Thunderbolt. Ironically, it says that the Thunderbolt device is not ready, and this icon is different because it is not the Thunderbolt C version. So if we take a look at that, so I've got that plugged into the port. Doesn't seem to see it, and I have it plugged into that port. I'll troubleshoot that later. I'll just leave those both. Okay, apply. All right, looks like it finally finished setting up. Let's go ahead and go to the NAS administration page. Continue. It looks like there's an update available in the App Center now, so let's see what that's all about. I'm not interested in the beta program, but thank you anyway. Firmware update. A newer firmware version patch is available for download, and it's 4.4.0 official. And let's go ahead and update that. Fixed multiple vulnerabilities in Samba and vulnerabilities in OpenSSH. That's definitely worth the upgrade.
Updating firmware now. Please do not turn off the power.
Now that is cool. It talks. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but that's pretty cool. While that's going on, I'm interested in some of the thermals here. So I'm going to grab my phone. I'm going to plug in my FLIR infrared device.
Firmware update completed.
Haha, cool. All right, it says, are you sure you want to restart the NAS? If you do not confirm, the NAS will automatically restart. Let's go ahead and restart it. And let me switch over to my FLIR.
Shutting down.
Okay, it looks like that thing's at 105, which is pretty hot. Let's check out this, see where the heat's coming from on this. You know what, I'm going to move this. Okay, so the air coming out is 110-ish. And this Netgear is 104, that's hottest spot. And this thing is super hot at 116. Yeah, that's really hot to touch. And this is also very hot. So if we move that, you can see that it leaves that. Compared to the laptop, which is about 115. Okay, those are the thermal tests. Let's, you know what, let me get a fan connected to this device over here. It's at 103. Hold on a second, let's get that connected. I've got this Polar laptop cooler. I'm going to install that onto this Netgear on the hot side. I'll plug in, I'll use the USB. Hopefully this can give power. To the fan.
System boot completed.
All right, thank you for letting me know. All right, looks like it's taking the temperature down. I'll let it do its thing, but I'm going to turn the fan down a bit because it is making a lot of noise. I'll leave it down at that level. Okay. All right, switching back over to this, let's go ahead and log in. You can purchase the following licenses to enable extended features. All right, let's close that. Keeps on saying this update's available here. Next. Click an app and install. Not interested in doing that right now. Sure. Okay, there's a few updates here. So I'll guess I'll update them all. Okay, now that's set up. Those are updated. All right, so what I'm confused about now is on a Synology, the drives are set up. And I guess I have to go look at volume info. And it doesn't look like my hard drive is set up. Maybe it's under utilities. Let's see what this guy. Okay. Got optimize. Still not sure where I need to go set up my hard drives for my disks. Ah, there we go. Welcome to storage and snapshots. Storage and snapshots is a central interface for managing disk, storage space, and other storage features. To start using the NAS, either create a storage pool and then a thick, thin volume to create a static volume. Snapshots record the state of your data at specific points in time. You can recover individual files or... Okay, I don't want to do that because I'll do that on the backup drive. There we go. This is what I want. Back up your data to another NAS using snapshots. Snapshot Replica enables you to back up your data to a different storage pool. Data is continuously synced using block level snapshots to save bandwidth, and snapshots can be restored. Okay, I don't want snapshots. I want a complete copy of my local files onto my remote so that if I need to unplug my remote, I can use that as a failover. Okay, I'm back. As you probably noticed, I'm wearing a different shirt. It's because the synchronization of the RAID drive took about 8 hours, so I let that happen overnight. I also set up this other drive as well to do the same thing. I'll put that in a separate video for those who are interested, but basically the process is the same because of the QNAP software. So let's get back right into the storage settings and let me review what I put together. I have 6 disks here. I will put the M1 and M.2 in another video and do some testing there. But if we take a look at the storage and snapshots and double click that, I set this up as a static volume. So what that means is that instead of creating a storage pool and then creating a volume, I just created a static one because it did that on its own RAID. If you do the other option, then you have the option of doing a thick or thin. I didn't research that yet, and it doesn't look like it really applies to me. The reason why I chose the static one is because there's some speed advantages to it. Now you can see that my RAID group 1 is all ready to go, and I have a total capacity of 21.48 terabytes. Now, the reason why it doesn't add up to a total of, let's say, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, of 36 terabytes is because part of that is for parity. If you're not familiar with RAID, just read up on it, but basically it uses some storage across the disk in case, since I have RAID 6, I have 2 disks that are available to fail. Now, with that set up and ready to go, I haven't set up any default shares, but I did, in the meantime, I figured out why my Thunderbolt wasn't working. It's because I had a USB-C cable. You need a Thunderbolt cable that looks like this. I'll just take a picture of it and throw it up out there. You'll see that my OWC also has the same logo. You need the Lightning logo with the number 3 on it. Once I plugged that in, it said Thunderbolt interface has been connected, and I was good to go. The advantage of having Thunderbolt on your desktop is that it's basically like a network. So I can have 2 Macs here using both Thunderbolt ports, and they can access it just like you would on a network, but it looks like a local device. Let me show you what I did here. So I'm going to just eject these public folders here. That's my network drive, which is my 1515 Plus. I'll eject that as well. And going over on my Mac, if I click on network, you'll see that I have a couple networks available. I have 2 that are one that's Thunderbolt and one that's AFP, which is the Apple File Protocol. And then also the Windows variant to connect to. And then you'll see the 472XT. That's also available. So you can see on my left, I already have the connection here. It looks like it failed. So when you see failed, you want to go ahead and put in the password that you selected as your admin, and then it should connect. There we go. Same thing with just the plain AFP. I'll go over here, connect as admin, and then put in my password. I could save it, but I'm going to change my password later. All right, now I'm going to connect to this public drive and do the same with, you know what, just for this video, I'll go ahead and save it. All right, I'll connect to this as well. And what I'll do is I'll load up Blackmagic Disk Speedtest. And let's start with the Thunderbolt test. So if I go over here and select target drive, oh, before I do that, let's do a baseline. We'll do a baseline of the built-in SSD of this laptop. And this test will not be affected by any screen recording software because I'm recording on my external Blackmagic video recorder or my Video Assist. So there's no additional software other than Chrome and this other DiskMark app that's loaded. So let me go ahead and quit that. I'll leave Chrome open since I don't think it's going to take a lot of processing time. And start the speed test on the local drive to get a baseline. And it looks like we're getting about 1,800 megabytes per second on the write and 1,600 on the read. All right, so this should give us some indication if there is a bottleneck on the system, because if it's slow, basically your slowest connection is the slowest one in the chain. All right, let's go ahead and stop that. Select a target drive. Now we'll go to the Thunderbolt connection. Just select one of these folders, open it, and we'll start the test. And we're getting about 615 on average for the write. And on the read, we're getting about 850 or 860 on average, which is pretty good. I don't do 4K ProRes files. All right, let's stop with that test. Okay, so this is the test to the TVS-672XT via Thunderbolt. Now let's do it via the OWC10G Ethernet 10GE Thunderbolt connection. So this time it's going to go over the network on the 10 gigabit Ethernet. And let's see the difference here. And click Start. So it looks like it's about the same speed, maybe slightly faster at 650. And then on the read, surprisingly, it's a little bit lower at 458. So it went up a little bit on the write, peaking at around 700, and the read is around 459. Okay. Let's stop that. Now, just to note, in order to get the full bandwidth out of the Thunderbolt cable, it needs to be no longer than 1.5 feet. I'm not sure what that is in centimeters, but I'll put that up on the screen. Now, the other test I'm going to do is the target drive, and I will put the disk station here, and I'll go to my network drive here and open that and do a test. So my Synology 1515 Plus is connected via Ethernet, 1 gigabyte per second. All right, so let's start that. And so the write test to that machine is 75 megabytes per second. And then the read is at 109 megabytes per second. So you can see at the read level, it's saturating that 1 gigabyte per second bandwidth over Ethernet. Now the next step I'm going to do is install these crucial M.2 500 gigabyte SSD drives into the 672XT and run the same tests. Before I do that, let me actually go and run this other speed test. All right, so I have a video here that is 5.23 gigabytes. I'm going to transfer this over. I'll copy this video that is 11 minutes long and 5.23 gigabytes in size, and paste this right over here, and I'll click Start at the same time. So Command V. Okay, 9 seconds and 71 milliseconds. All right, let's do that with the Synology 1515 Plus. So we'll go over here to my network drive. I'll delete it from there. Command V. And that's 56 seconds and 27 milliseconds to the Synology 1515 Plus over 1 gig versus the TVS-672XT over Thunderbolt. Let's do the same thing and copy that file. Let's do it over the 10 gig network. Remove that. And paste that right in here. And Command V. And over the 10 gigabyte Ethernet, it took 8 seconds. So it was about 1 second faster versus Thunderbolt. Interesting. Now, let's do a read test of copying that file from the 10 gig Ethernet connection, and I'll paste that back to my laptop. So Command V. 11 second 0.268 read. Okay. And then let's do the same thing from Thunderbolt. Copy that. Command V. So reading from Thunderbolt on the TVS-672XT, it was 6 seconds and 20 seconds. And then finally, let's read it from the Synology disk station 1515. We'll copy this, and then we'll paste it right over here. Command V. So this is connected to the Synology 1515 over 1 gigabyte Ethernet, reading from the Synology to my laptop. And it's 45 seconds and 34 milliseconds as a read from my Synology 1515. You know, just for kicks, let's actually copy this over to the TVS-472. I'm connected via Ethernet, just one gigabyte per second Ethernet for right now because I haven't set up my separate switch. And I'm kind of curious how that compares to the Synology because it's using the same network connection. So if I copy this from my desktop and write it to the TVS-472XT, let's compare the speed. Command V. And that took 48 seconds and 95 milliseconds to write from my desktop over to the TVS-472XT via AFP on the Ethernet connection on 1 gigabyte per second. And now let's actually write it back from the TVS-472. Let's double check. Yep. And write it back to my desktop, or read it from there and write it to my desktop and see how that speed goes. Command V. And this is over regular Ethernet at 1 gigabyte per second from the TVS-472XT with two 12 terabyte Iron Wolf drives. And it read it at 45 seconds and 31 milliseconds. All right, we'll do a test later on with the 10 gigabit connection, but as you can see, the speeds over 10 gigabyte per second and the Thunderbolt is much faster than the 1 gigabyte per second. And if you're doing a lot of video files, especially 4K files and large image files that include RAW files, those transfers are definitely going to be beneficial with the higher speed connections. Now next up, I wanted to test if there's any advantage of the M.2 caches. I'm not even sure if I needed these, but check out the prices in the description below. I got them at a pretty good price compared to the other brands, and Crucial is a pretty good brand. So just wait for the next section. I'll go ahead and show an install guide on how to put these in here, and then we'll do those additional tests with the cache.
Yeah, yeah.